I'd like to open it up to some questions from you. I'm sure you have lots. Okay. And Megan Johnson's going to have the microphone. So go ahead. We'll just raise your hand and we'll bring you in. Okay, Megan, looks like we have it right over here.
I'm very excited. I think you could probably do it.
Thank you so much for coming and speaking to us. And you talked a lot about the progress since 1985 and how we got here. But can you spend a little bit of time talking about the future of what you see in this space and how you see things going from here on? Because there have been a lot of things that have happened and a lot of influences. So can you just spend a little bit of time thinking about that or speaking to that?
It's hard to predict the future, but I think that a lot of what we're facing right now, there's so many issues, but one thing we're facing right now as a culture, which has a lot to do with who gets a voice and what life is like for people, is the severe income inequality in the United States right now.
In the world.
In the world, of course, but, in the world. And this is part of every aspect of culture. If you want to talk about the Oscar race, which everyone is really pissed off about right now, that all the acting awards have gone to white people and have always, almost, in 110 years. Or if you want to talk about the art world or any other world of culture, or if you want to talk about the fact that most people don't make a living wage in this country where they really should, and we don't get the benefits that people do in other places. And I think this is something that affects an awful lot of people, and it's something that if there's anything we could do to change the future, we have to work toward this, where people have an ability in our country to have a decent life no matter what they're doing, and there isn't this huge disparity at the top, at the middle, and at the bottom. In the art world, it's totally crazy. I mean, art has become about money. It's hugely expensive, which is good for a few people, artists who are making millions, people who have millions to buy the work. But it's really not good for other people, and that's one reason why I think artists are turning to a different kind of practice. I mean, this is a community place. It's a great place. I hope everyone in Rochester feels comfortable here. But on the other hand, a lot of the major museums, like the big city museums, are all kind of fancy. It's all too fancy, and my future is art isn't fancy. We have respect for each other's. We're all fighting for every human rights issue. There's not the incredible income disparity, and artists' work isn't all about making millions of dollars. So we only have the top 10 artists of each generation in museums.
Right, and I think that was a great question, and I just wanted to say, kind of within our world, our realm here at Rochester Art Center, we're working on getting WAGE certified, and I don't know if people are familiar with WAGE. It's a project basically now, and it's over the last few months, you can now get certified to basically that you pay artists a living wage, and there's a whole fee scale based on your kind of annual operating, budget, and it's really useful. And Rochester Art Center has been paying artists, so for a while now. We're really glad about that. But that's sort of a tangible offering to your question, and kind of related to this idea of the economy of art.
Well, I'm not sure. Well, who knows? Large museums like in New York City, in Chicago, in Los Angeles, in Washington, D.C., they have lots of tax benefits. If you give something, you get a tax deduction. And in exchange, I think we can ask that they be representative and that they not be a subsidy to the art market. So many of the large museums, moneyed museums, have art collectors, art dealers on their board. And they have very valuable art collections, and it's in their interest to know what the museums are showing. They know the future exhibition schedules. They can go out and invest in those, in those artists. That's really a conflict of interest, and it's insider trading. And we all need to realize that, and we all need to pressure it, because the system, the art system, is not going to change on its own. It's not going to decide one day, oh, this smells bad. They have to be pressured, and we as taxpayers have to pressure them. When we did a project in 2009 for the Washington Post, we decided to look at all the completely free, completely taxpayer-supported museums in the mall in Washington. And at that time, the National Gallery didn't have one single artwork by an African American on exhibit. Shocking. All our taxes go to pay for that. So when the Washington Post did their fact-checking, and it's really great to have a big media source like that working for you, they called them up and said, they called the press department at the National Gallery, can you confirm, this is fact-checking, can you confirm that at the moment there's not one single artwork by an African American on exhibit at the museum right now? The press department went crazy. They couldn't verify it. It was so embarrassing. They said, well, we'll get back to you in the morning. Overnight, it was decided, or it was realized, that they were installing a work by Martin Curreri. So they could say one rather than none. And that took the percentage from 100% white to 99.999% white, as though that's really any better. But I think everyone needs to realize that there's a market under this visual arts culture, and that institutions need to produce or show or preserve culture, not money. And it really happens in the larger museums that is kind of controlled by big money. But in smaller institutions like that, you can represent your community. You can actually present culture that looks like who we are, rather than just the highest priced artists that money can buy.
So see if we can take maybe two more. And I think we'll take two more, but please know that the girls will be here for a while afterward as well, and they're more than happy to sit for selfies or talks or chats or follow-up emails as well. I'm just going to go here. And then Sue, you can ask them at dinner.
All right, thank you so much for being here, first of all. My question is about the surrounding anonymity. What is it to be an anonymous group, and what is it to be a group of a non-linear sort of spectrum? We've looked at Occupy Wall Street and that being sort of a non-linear platform for an activist organization. And what does it mean to not have a face? And how has that hindered or helped you? And have you thought about kind of naming or putting a face to your organization? What does that look like?
Let's take a couple, actually, okay, so we can get three in.
Okay, so that's...
Can we take a couple of questions first?
Oh.
Are you sure it's long-winded? Okay, we'll go ahead.
Part of the process. The anonymity is a really valid question, and we've always had a lot of pushback on that, and I understand it completely. We are not. I guess what happened, to be really honest about it, is we formed to be anonymous, but it became part of our identity, and we're kind of stuck with it right now. So the advantage of it is it doesn't matter who we are. We could be anyone, and we can say whatever we want, and it's not about us. The disadvantage might be, you know, working for 30 years without any credit or anything else that most of us do want with the work we do. I have to say that it's a wonderful thing. I understand why people don't like it, but it's a wonderful thing to be anonymous. And you have to remember that in our own lives, we're artists and activists under our own name. So it's not like all we do is anonymous. We have other things we do where we do stand up under our own names. But the Guerrilla Girls have become a symbol for crazy, creative activism. Professional complaining in a way that makes a difference. And it's a lot bigger than any of the 55, 60 people who have come in and out of the group over the years. So I think I have to say that in spite of all the issues that you rightly bring up, or the issues we all think about, it's kind of worth it. It's just its own weird thing that we've been involved with all this time. And let's face it, the anonymity is one thing. No one would care about us at all if we didn't put every skill and effort we have into the work. And it's the work that people reproduce. You know, the image is great, it helps us, but without that work, we wouldn't be where we are.
And without these masks, a lot of you might not have come tonight.
Hi, thank you so much for coming to Rochester. I'm a recent New York City transplant, so this is quite a breath of fresh air in this community. So I am speaking as an artist, asking a question to other artists. I was in New York about 3 weeks ago, and I was at the MoMA where I saw the Jackson Pollock and the Picasso sculpture show. And then I went to the Whitney, and I saw the Frank Stella show. And then I went, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I got back to Rochester, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just spent all of my art experiences in New York seeing male artists. So my question is about content as female artists. You know, I struggle with the idea that the art I make, which is sort of bizarre and about invented female anatomy, is not something that most galleries, or shall I even say museums, would even, you know, want to be interested in showing. And then I think, gosh, I'm a really good painter. I could make paintings and maybe sell them, and then I wouldn't have to work as a middle school art teacher, which I love. I do. I love. But, so my question is, do any of you think about the content of your artwork and how that makes it more difficult for you as an artist, or do you cherish that part of it, and any advice you have about that?
I mean, we all think about the content, right? Just sort of through your description. I'm trying to imagine what invented female anatomy is. But it's just like life. You don't want to do something you're not interested in to spend your time, so you do the thing that is your work, and you make space for it in the world, or you take up space. I guess that's what I think about. So I think about who my people are, and I think about the things I want to hear in the world, and the things I want to learn about, and that informs my content, and it changes. I mean, the work you do in a museum institution, or at least for me, the work I do in a museum institution is often different than the work I do on the street, or the work I do anonymous on like a wall, or the work I do in collaboration with other people. So I think I just taking up space and sort of answering that in lots of different ways, relating to what you're saying, some frustration, but like just making paintings to make money, you know that's not gonna work. And so we gotta do that weird thing that we gotta do, and find the people that it's for. And I relate to that as like, as a queer person, a lot of my work might fall off at certain points and not be for certain audiences. And some of it's going to be for some audiences and some of it's going to be for other audiences. But just choosing your audiences too, I think is really part of artwork. Like who you want to talk to. Who would you sit down with and building the work for me. And that's a process of learning, like as I change who I am in the world too. Girls?
Well, I think artists are stuck with their own work.
And that's right. I can pretend all that.
I mean, you could have a day job and do those paintings and make money. That's what you should do, and then still do your own work. And it's been proven, basically. I mean, we all in our own practice, want to get, make progress, get beyond, challenge ourselves, etc. But when you look at any artist that you like, if you look at their body of work, and it's really true of collectives too, in a way. Certainly true of our collective. If you really look at it, you'll see that there's a thread from the beginning to the end. It's almost like you do one work, in a way. And I'm not, we don't like to think of it that way, but I think there is some truth to that.
Well, I wanted to thank all of our panelists and the curator, Susannah Magers. Can you give them a round of applause? If you weren't feminist, so I want to thank everyone in the crowd, identified female, identified male, and everything around those definitions. I also want to thank the staff at Rochester Art Center, particularly Chris and Susannah, Nora, everyone who really worked very, very hard to make this night.